Five.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, September 3rd. Just to let everybody know in advance who is watching this at home, it will be a very short agenda, same as we had on Tuesday. So be attentive, and it will not last very long tonight. So we'll call the meeting to order. And if we can, those who are here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Harper.
Here.
Ms. Atkins.
Here.
Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Mayor Abu-Osley. Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Ms. Gedalia.
Here.
Mr. Sternad.
And now if you join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, the first item on our agenda is proclamations and oaths. We do not have any of those, nor do we have any presentations from external entities. So now we'll move on to the public forum. This is a time for comments from the public on topics listed on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. Do we have any items for the public forum, Rachel?
I have not received anything.
Okay. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the regular agenda.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve items A1 through F1, resolutions 28729 through 28743.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, including items A1 through F1, resolutions 28729 through 28743. Are there any of these items that anybody wishes to discuss or comment on? Okay, if not, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The consent agenda is approved.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 28744, approving Human Resources Director Employment Agreement with Kirsten Fisher.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 28744, approving the Human Resources Director Employment Agreement with Kirsten Fisher. Any discussion on this? Renee, please.
Two quick things. Is it Kirsten or Kirsten?
Kirsten.
Kirsten. And when does she start?
September 14th.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions on this resolution? Okay, if not, all those in favor of approving resolution number 28744, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The resolution is approved, and now we'll jump back up to resolution 28743.
That was under the consent agenda, I believe.
It's
Okay,
amended, yes.
yep, I see that. Okay, so now we'll move on to community development.
Yes, Your Honor. I move to approve ordinance number 20-10, approving rezoning from A1, rural restricted, to BL, local business, for property located south of Tower Terrace Road and west of Winslow Road. This is the final consideration.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the ordinance number 20-10. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 20-10, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The ordinance is approved. And now we have a topic under other department discussion. We'll have a 2020 storm response update.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we wanted to take an opportunity to brief the council on where we're at with a lot of our activities related to the storm response. So on a high level, this week, we've made a couple of changes. We did switch the monitoring firm that we were using for oversight of the contractors out in the field. So far, that's gone extremely well. This company has brought some tools to the table that the prior one did not, and just seems to be doing a much better job of reaching the standards that we would expect of a contractor for a disaster of this magnitude. So as of today, Ryan was reporting that we've reached about the 60% point on removal of debris around the community in the first pass. We have concentrated our efforts in a couple sections of the area of the city that were fairly heavily hit. So there's actually 2 trucks running in a couple of the sectors of Marion right now to help them catch up. Just want to give a little bit of warning that with Labor Day coming up, the crews are asking if they can have Labor Day off. So there may be a day coming up here where they don't run, but just want the public to be aware of that. So we're kind of settling into a routine with the debris removal. We do have aerial trucks moving around the community as well, removing the hangars. The Parks Department has had some of their staff working in the parks, coordinating with the contractors as well. So I feel like really the last couple of days we've started to make very significant progress. Ryan was thinking over the weekend we might hit 300,000 cubic yards of debris removed. So again, pretty significant. Just the numbers looking at today, as of about an hour ago, they'd already removed about 16,000. So 20 to 30,000 a day when they're in full swing. So they'll make pretty significant progress. Beyond that, I know that there are a couple of folks that want to make some more direct updates to you. So I would ask Holly to come up here. She can give you a briefing on what's going on with the library. It's a mixed bag for us. So we got a little bit of a surprise bad news today, but also making progress on getting the other locations set up.
Thank you, Lon. Your Honor, Council. So we are working really hard to get our services back up. I had the opportunity to work with FEMA representative from Washington, D.C. today. Some other resources yesterday. I brought Lon into a call. From an awareness perspective, library services from the federal government are considered critical services during a disaster. So we are working really hard to get our services back up. We are experiencing challenges with internet accessibility. We're really hoping that we can open our Uptown branch on Tuesday. That we have computers set up in the front half of that, and that will be Holds pickup for our materials there. We are waiting on internet service to bring that online. We do have a secondary location set up now out at the Marion Columbus Club. We're not allowed to call it the Knights of Columbus, but that is where the Knights of Columbus meet. So we're out there. That's where our DOT kiosk is for people to get their driver's license renewed. We have also brought on 2 community navigators, both of which are librarians that are providing FEMA support and outreach into the community. So they're going into working with the Marion Cares organization and going into those neighborhoods that they're addressing. We're working on transitioning kind of away from our incident command and the work that Brooke was doing on a volunteer and individual outreach now is transitioned over to the library with these community navigation employees that we have on contract. So we're just working again. I would love to say that we've moved into the stabilization stage, but as Lon indicated, we are still triaging. Priority 1 for me has always been to save our collection. After speaking with some of our preservation specialists yesterday, I did some spot checking out at our storage facility, and our materials are wet. So we went through a very extensive process with our service master group to come in and dry the collection in place in the building before we moved them. And so I've quickly put in a call to those gentlemen this afternoon, and hopefully we can get them back out or to understand. We've taken every measure that we could possibly take at this point, following all the guidance that we've had. So I would say we're a little bit still in that triage state, understanding the extent of damage to the collection, but also trying to be as responsive as we can to the public with those community technology stations and all of that good stuff. So we'll keep you posted on, we did close the Thomas, tomorrow is the last day for Thomas Park. So we're trying to transition away from that, and we'll continue to monitor the rest of the community. We're looking at getting in some more technology, some more hotspots. We learn every day that so many people, I think, including some of you, are still without internet access at home. And that's a big deal, especially with kiddos starting back to school here in a couple of weeks. So we're really trying to get technology out into the community and get the Wi-Fi back accessible to those that are in need. You look like you have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah, I do. Thank you. How, I think you said it was Service Master was coming back in? How?
I'm not sure yet. I'm hoping.
Okay. Well, at some point they will, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
How do they facilitate the dry down of the collection?
Mm-hmm. So what we did in the library before we moved everything out is they pump really dry, hot air into the facility. And then suck out any moisture that they possibly can. So there's a dry in place process that we used. The materials that were like damaged, wet and damaged, we discarded. I was trying to think of the right word. We discarded that collection. The rest of them, there's a dry in place where they heat up the rooms that the materials are in. They put in the dry air. They suck out the wet air. We went through a whole almost 2 weeks of that process before we moved the collection. Theoretically speaking, when it got out there, it should have been dry. We've been monitoring humidity since we got them out there. So the only explanation could be that they weren't fully dry when we moved them. And so that, I'll have to go back to our experts that did that drying process and find out kind of what their recommendation is here. The thing that we're working on is just we don't want mold. And now that we have the collection so close together in that facility, we don't have a lot of room to move. If you haven't been out there, it's wall to wall shelving. We have 3 feet in between each one. So if mold starts, it's rampant. So we've got dehumidifiers out there. I have humidity monitors in several locations. And so we'll continue to monitor it. Ultimately we'd like to get them dried out.
So is there a chance those are going to have to be put into a temperature controlled building? Because I know this is just a large garage unit.
Yeah, so technically speaking, that where we are is the temperature controlled. It has heat. If we keep dehumidifiers in there, we're blessed. Thankfully, we're not in Alabama where it's humid 365 days a year. The humidity, we want to keep the humidity at 50% or below. And in that facility right now today, it was between 52 and 54. So we're not too far off as far as our air temperature in there. It's just where they came from, I think, is the issue, especially going into the winter where we're going to have a very dry climate during the winter months. That should be a great location for them. It's just what kind of condition they were in when we got them there.
Well, good luck. You're now facing a battle you were not expecting. Yes. On top of everything else that's been going on. You thought that was
we were
put away and
sure
put away for a period of time. Renee.
Yeah, did I read that the mobile library is going to start in the next week or so?
So that was a misprint. We kicked that project off yesterday. So that part of it was true. The mobile library project is kicking off. However, that is a custom built unit. So that is probably 9 to 10 months out before we'll have that in play.
Okay.
Thanks. We're hoping through some of the resources that we can get. I'm waiting to get a call back from FEMA, our FEMA representative, Iowa Homeland Security. We should have some good resources to us and able to get vans and stuff like that. I'm just waiting to make sure that we need to verify that before we do it.
Okay. Well,
Two-part question. So worst case, if the collection
is wet
and moldy and needs to be discarded, what do you I know there's insurance on it. Can you
Mhm.
talk about what that's insured for? And do you think that's what the collection is actually worth?
You know, as far as what the collection is actually worth, I've asked for that number today. We can pull that out of our automation system. It is insured for 2 million. We have 85,000 items that are in that building right now. So I'm not sure that 2 million will cover it whole, you know, the whole kit and caboodle, but FEMA should cover the rest. And if they're damaged.
That's good. Thank you.
And they should also cover us replacing, you know, the replacement cost. We did learn some really great stuff today in talking with our FEMA person out on the East Coast. Even if we have to get new materials in to replace the new materials, the staff time that it takes for us to process all of that and get all of that in counts too. So we're learning a lot every day as we go through. You know, each department has their own intricacies as it pertains to FEMA and how you have to go through that. And, you know, we're no different in that. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Holly.
So Ryan and Seth are here. Those two have been more front and center to the actual debris recovery and the efforts out in the field. If the council has any questions, I do know that the city council that we've received some correspondence through the website asking about potential budgetary impacts and how we're going to take a look at those. So with the way that we have everything set up right now, the finance department has set up a system where we can track any of the derecho related expenses so that we can easily pull them out of our financial system discrete from other expenses that just we incur in the normal operations of the city. So we'll be able to track those pretty finely. We did, when we had our meeting with Iowa Homeland Security earlier this week, learn a couple of things that actually will play in our favor. In past disasters, for example, we were not able to claim straight time for staff related to recovery efforts. So, you know, if the park staff was out there working and they have a typical 8-hour a day, that would have to get deducted off, even though there was an opportunity cost to the community because they couldn't work on their normal work plan. That's been changed. So not only can we submit for reimbursement on overtime, we can also now submit for reimbursement on the straight time for those activities. And then any other departments who might have been working outside of their normal work, like during the initial phases of the event, we had staff from the library directing traffic and going out and shadowing and assisting the building inspectors. We can claim their time as well. So it's going to be incredibly important for us to be able to document that. You know, our goal in this is to make sure that we realize every penny that we can verify. We're not looking to game the system, but we do want to make sure that we're maximizing the return to the community from FEMA. So they will cover 75%. The state of Iowa covers 10%, which leaves the community responsible for 15%. Now, a couple of keys to that piece: the 15% can be, does not have to be cash. It can be in kind for events that were related to the public recovery. So when groups like Antioch Christian Church brought in a group that cleaned up City Square Park, that time can be tracked and can count towards our match. The donation of the location for the food pantry, that foregone rent can be counted as match. So we're tracking all of those different things. I have already visited with Brooke Prouty, who was coordinating our volunteer efforts. So we'll go back and make sure that we can reconstruct that, because anything that was provided like that, Hy-Vee providing water and food to the food pantry, things that were provided in lieu of government response can all be counted towards our community match. So best estimate right now, we're probably honestly about $4.5 million into the debris removal. And that's at about 60% on the first pass, which is likely to be the heaviest of the passes, but this is going to be an extensive event. So the more that we can document for all of those in-kind services that we've received would be the less that we have to come up with locally. And then on our side with the city, of course, we do have insurance on the city facilities, but as Holly alluded to, we are eligible for assistance that might be in excess of our limits on our policy, or if there are things that we run across that our policy for some reason doesn't cover.
Yeah, I think you described one key area. Not only do we have to take care of the regular monthly accounting that the city has to do for financial statements and paying bills and payroll and all of that. Now you've got, I think, a monster challenge to manage the accounting for FEMA. And I'm sure the manner and how you have to do that is certainly not normal. And the number of expenses and how you have to document that is just like another major project for that group to take on. So I know what's involved with that. One question I have, Lon, is can you give us, you can either do it or some of the individuals can do it, give us an update on the status of the city buildings that were damaged and how that's coming along?
Yeah, we've had several meetings with the city's adjuster. We've gotten some initial estimates from them on what their assessment of the damage is. We have actually received some bids. Bush Construction, who's doing the work for the new library, actually volunteered to come around and give us some estimates for reconstruction on other facilities. For the police station, they reached out to the original builder and the original architect to see if we needed to make some adjustments to how that was built because of the way that that damage occurred before those repairs are made. So those will be more forthcoming. The initial advance that we received from our insurer was about $200,000. Let's see if Amal has the preliminary estimates, if we got those.
So preliminarily, we received a 200,000 check in advance, and preliminary estimate for the damages were put together. They had a reserve for about 4 million for our damages.
Okay.
But this is just for city facilities, not including the infrastructure that still we have to assess. We have to hire someone to, a professional person to go over traffic lights, for example, and figure out the estimates for those damages. We are expecting for facilities alone to be around 3 million in settlement.
Can we have a specific, I was thinking specifically, people have been talking about the new fire station headquarters because there's a lot of damage out there. What damage did we get there? Is that affecting our timeline on that project at all?
Yes, it's going to affect the timeline. I'm not sure for how long. There is damage to the wood decking. I'm still waiting for a report from the professional and to be validated with our architect. What needs to be done for the wood decking, whether it has to be removed 100% and reassembled back. The wait time for the material, ordering the material and material receiving on site, it's not clear yet. The other damages, we have quite some damage to steel studs. So those are minor, so they have to take them down and put them back together. But the major damage was to the wood decking.
And what is the impact on the storm of fire station site number 4? So obviously that was a tremendous amount of damage out there. So are we, is that just getting renegotiated? How are we handling that whole site out there now?
We heard 2 buildings were down.
Yeah.
We would think they'll have to rebuild those.
So I mean, we have not closed on that yet, right? So how are we handling that?
It's likely that it will delay the closing on it.
Right.
Honestly, we haven't had much chance to sit down and talk with our real estate broker or the bank, but we did reach out to them. And the way our purchase agreement was set up, in the event that something did happen, they're supposed to provide us the facility at closing in substantially similar condition to what it was when we first inspected it to buy
Okay.
it. So, but that's where the questions come in.
Okay.
If it was 2 buildings that came down, would we be better off to work with them and just do one? So there'll be some time that we'll have to sit down with the owners and try to figure out exactly what that reconstruction looks like.
Okay. Should we have Ryan come up?
If you have any questions for him,
I think you got questions for Ryan? We do.
He's glad
Ryan,
to
if
have a
you
chance to
could-
sit down, so.
Yeah. Ryan has been running ragged, as I would expect. Appreciate all your extraordinary efforts.
Well, if you got questions, I can answer them, or if you want any more detailed operations, I can provide that. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Will had a question.
I have 2 that have come up with folks. First one, I've had a couple people ask me about the recycle center on not recycle center, the compost facility on 35th, reopening for people to pick up compost and that type of thing.
It will be. And so what's going on right now, if you've been out to the reduction facility on 44th, pretty much got through all the, what we call the residential drop-off area there. So all that big pile, We were able to grind that, most of it up. And so we've now mobilized back to 35th Street because for a couple days there, everything was going there. And so we got a monster pile over at 35th. So next step, we're going to start reducing that on 35th. And then once we can get that reduced, it's not really safe in there yet because it is quite a pile. We want to get that out of there. We'll go ahead and get it opened back up. We're thinking next week we should be able to open it back up. So I was told we're mobilizing now. Next Tuesday, we're going to start reduction operations. The grinding people want to take the weekend off, which I understand. And so any luck, open next weekend, we think, for compost. We just got to watch it. We don't want people, taking storm debris back over to 35th. You follow me? So we got to be careful on how we're going to do that. So yeah, if that answered the question.
Yeah, it does. Some folks that have been trying to do some repair work, wanting to pick up some compost and stuff. But the second question is kind of my situation and others and some of my other neighbors too, and I'm sure others around the city. We've had our street cleared already. First passes come through, but like myself, I've got another tree in the backyard to bring to the front. So the questions that I'm getting and I'm having are we anticipating that second round for tree removal relatively soon, or my quadrant or area is pretty much done for the most part? Is that truck now off helping other areas? Is it going to come to another pass relatively soon?
So no, we're going to give people time to get everything out. All right. And so here in the next week, maybe two, we're going to take a look and really try to get a handle on what debris is still in the backyards, what has to come out. There is some other programming work we're looking at with our monitoring firm in terms of private assistance. And we're looking into that a little bit further, but I'm not going to promise anything on that. But essentially what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that the storm debris is going to be collected. Okay. We've told these people, bring your winter coats. So this will take a while. We're not quite sure if we're going to get into C&D collections next and give people more time for get their backyards cleaned up. We're just going to take a look at that in 2 weeks.
Sure.
But no matter what, we're going to make sure everybody's taken care of.
So at least a couple weeks before another pass.
Oh yeah.
All right. Because I know like my situation, and if it's ready to go, but I don't want to bring it out front and have it sit there for a month.
Absolutely.
You know, because it looks nice now. All clean.
Yeah.
Is the plan to do one pass through the entire city?
Yes.
And then go back to those harder hit areas? Is that?
Yeah. So the first plan was to get in there, do what we call the first pass, get the bulk. Let's get the bulk out of here, make it safe. That's going to allow for the aerial trucks to get in safer, start doing the aerial work. It also allows residents time to get their backyards cleaned up, things like that. And so right now we have for sure 3 passes scheduled for the entire city. This is the first pass. We'll do another pass of debris collection, woody debris collection, tree collection. And then one of those passes will also be what we call commercial and demolition waste collection. That's the garbage at the curb. And so when we get a better handle on timing and things like that, we'll know exactly how to tackle that.
We're not ready to let people know what that estimate might be at this point in time.
Really, we want to see what the C&D looks like, because I don't like that stuff out in the street because it starts blowing around. And so if we can break up a couple trucks off and just focus on that and focus on some other areas, other things that are going to buy us time, we got to start getting in the parks and start getting those collected with those right-of-way trucks too. And so here in the next week or two, we'll have a pretty solid answer on what that's going to look like. So
I have another one.
Go ahead, Will.
Something I've noticed driving around, it looks like the trucks are only picking up residential properties, so like apartment complexes and commercial properties are not getting picked up.
So our goal is to pick up the entire city. Okay, so this is a FEMA thing. We focus on residential first. There's a form we fill out, application process, to prove us to go get commercial, apartments, residential, and all this stuff. It's just a step. It's not that we're not doing it. It's just we're going to focus on residential first, make sure we're checking the boxes perfectly. And then once we get that done, everything will be collected. Okay.
Are we approved? Are we approved already, though? to
I've been
collect?
told that basically, yeah, because Cedar Rapids went ahead and just did it.
Okay,
We want to make sure we're doing this right is
All right.
all. And we will, we're going to be through and collect everything, but we just want to make sure we're checking each box right the way we're supposed to.
I understand that.
Yep.
Renee?
Yeah, so just to clarify, because I responded, I think I CC'd you and Lon from a resident that is in a cul-de-sac on a street that's not a very busy one. So she'll probably be toward the end of the first pass, but a lot of people are putting a lot of things that are not woody debris, fence,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I
Yep.
told her that that was the second pass.
Yeah, you
Is
can
that
tell her
still-
that'll be another pass. What's really important is that we keep that segregated.
Mhm.
We're trying to tell people, keep that on the other side of the sidewalk, or if you can, just keep it tight for now. We don't want to get that mixed in with the woody debris, because that can cause a lot of problems down the road. We have some really expensive equipment grinding this stuff up. We get the wrong thing in there, that can really mess up operations.
It is separate. She sent pictures. Part of her inquiry and complaint is that none of it is hers, and she's at the end of a
boy.
cul-de-sac, and people are just bringing, and it looked like there was a TV. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know if that's related to the storm, but
Yeah,
it's
we
starting
can't-
to turn into a big junk pile.
Yeah.
So I just gave her what the Southern Disaster Recovery told us at that initial meeting. I didn't know if we were diverting
We
from
do.
that a little bit, or
So Amber's putting together, and it should be on the website now, Amber put together what's gonna be acceptable in that C&D stuff, electronics, no, white goods, no, stuff like that, no. But as we go through, as we get this thinned down, we'll be able to really target those areas.
okay. And I did direct her to the website
Okay.
for more, better updates than the little that I knew, but thank you for confirming
Yep.
that.
Grant?
Yeah, Marion, how do you feel about the capacity out at 44th? You're 60% through the first pass.
Yeah.
I guess, will the volume reduction through the grinding allow us still the necessary space?
I don't know if you saw that, but the next step, what we're doing on is finding what we call the FDS site, or the final disposition site. And so we have a number of large, what I call walking floor trailers or semis on standby, ready to haul the debris out. Our goal was to start Friday. We have a couple sites that we targeted. We're trying to pick the best one. And what I mean by that is that the landfill is not accepting this debris. They just don't have the capacity. They'll be inundated. And so what the DNR is encouraging is land application. And we found a couple sites for that. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, everybody in the state's scrambling to figure out where that's at, what those sites are. And so, but we're working with the DNR just to make sure what we're doing is what they would like us to see to do. And, FEMA can say, yeah, that looks good. Right. And so once that starts, that's going to open up a lot of area. If you go out there, you can see we got the residential area just, that got demolished. Here tomorrow, we're going to start really tearing into what I call the commercial area. That's the stuff that goes south towards Highway 100, but we're pretty comfortable with the capacity right now. We're not too worried. So,
okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
I had that same question. I said, there's a mountain of mulch out there, and I go, is that going to start inundating us and overwhelming us? But there's a plan to just haul that away as part of this process.
Absolutely. And, whatever negotiations we have with the landowners or what have you, that's all reimbursable by FEMA. So, but that's our plan. We hopefully can start tomorrow, but we want to make sure that where we take it's going to make sense. So,
Well,
Yes. Sorry, I got multiple questions. So how's the progress with the hanging branches over the roads and tree removal? I don't know if that's you or Seth to talk about it, but
Seth can talk about it. Very good, I think, but Seth can talk about more than I can.
So the aerial units, we have currently 6 aerial units. We did have 4 in the right of way and 2 in the parks. We've transitioned that this morning to have all 6 out in the right of way areas. And so they're currently working through the sections of town, going through. What we've been doing to follow back up if they're missing items is we're creating a punch list that they'll go through. And so they have a lot of sections they've gone through. The blue, pretty much the middle sections that we've had a lot of mature growth of trees they've gone through. There is an extensive list of punch list items that we need them to follow back up with, but they're going to get through all the sections, and then we're going to have them follow up with that punch list item to be able to go through and make sure they're addressing all the removals, all the hanging limbs and everything of that nature. Something with this new firm that we do have monitoring service is there's a lot more accountability with the aerial service. So the stuff that is marked for removal and should be removed will be removed. It's just something that we weren't getting from the other monitors that were on here a week ago.
Okay.
And that information will be updated with this new monitor service. They'll be able to upload that information on our website directly to show exactly where they're going and where they've been. It's actually a great resource to have with this new monitoring service. Be able to upload that in real time.
Any more questions for Seth while he is up here? Okay, or for Ryan? Okay.
It might be Ryan, it might be a Mike question, I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
So I drove down what was it, A Avenue that's getting reconstructed, and saw it looked like there's still a bunch of debris and no works being done. I didn't know. I'm sure the folks that live there are not happy.
So both A Avenue and 14th Street
14th.
were under construction. We did have the National Guard when they were here do some of that, but obviously with intakes open and no lids on top of them because parts of it haven't been paved, they can only do so much safely not knowing the facility. We have worked out a contract with Rachi Construction, who has both those contracts. So for A Avenue, they're going to push all the woody debris to South 11th, and then the apprentice trucks will come by and pick it up, and that way that construction can resume. So that actually resumed today with pushing that debris over with their skid loaders and just by hand. Similarly on 14th Street, they'll take it to the side streets or Brockman to be picked up by the SDR units, and then we will continue with the projects. So they were just delayed a little bit, but we had to get some other stuff done. So I know the mayor and myself have got some residents that have reached out, and we've reached back out to them. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Any more comments, Lon?
No, just wanted to see if you had any other questions.
Okay, anybody have any more questions at all about any aspect about the storm recovery process?
Probably tomorrow I will. Or in an hour.
Yeah, as soon as we leave here, there'll be something coming up, and things are changing rapidly. I think the city, I mean, I'm getting lots of compliments throughout the city about how well our city has performed and how fast the cleanup has occurred. So, you know, my compliments on behalf of a lot of other people throughout the city on the performance of the city employees and, of course, Southern Disaster Recovery as well.
I don't know if you had a chance to notice, but Amber was putting these posters around the community. Because anytime social media gives you compliments, you want to
Yes.
you want to capitalize on that. So she pulled some of those together and has been putting them out at the facilities.
Yep, that's a nice thing to have out throughout the city.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the more of those we can have out there, I think the better it reflects upon the opinions of the people throughout the city of Marion on the job that has been done. Okay, thank you. Okay.
All right.
So that's the 2020 storm response update. Now we'll move on to our public forum. This is a time for anybody to comment on items that are not part of our agenda tonight. Rachel, do we have anybody wishing to comment?
I have not received anything.
Okay, we'll give that just a little bit of time. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to council comments. Want to start with Renee, please?
Okay. Just wanted to report out that I recently was asked, I think it came through the city, to participate in a new group called the Sexual Abuse Response Team, or SART. And so Chief Kitzmiller and I attended that first meeting yesterday, and it was very eye-opening, and I'm grateful for the resource. So I just wanted to provide a little information on that. So it really deals with human trafficking and sexual assault, and there were representatives, law enforcement, child protection, nurses, caseworkers, SROs, hospitals, counselors, the whole gamut. And so it's really information, data sharing, and best practices. And one of the things that is coming out of it is kind of a best practices sheet that they're putting together, or sheets to give to the different police departments. And I asked if we could also get some for fire, because they deal with medical responses as well. And, you know, timing of reporting and those kinds of things are important. But it's a nonprofit through Riverview Center. It's a bridge to mental health. And there's just a lot of really great advocating and free resources. So I just said that I would try to leverage my position as a council member to get information out. I'd like to invite them to do a presentation at a later date. And then April is Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. So I'm sure we'll do a proclamation at that point. And I just asked them if there's anything that we can do or share just to add to our toolbox of resources for the community, that I would bring that here. So that was great. I think we'll be meeting monthly is my understanding. And if anybody has any questions or information for me to take back, I'd be happy to do that.
Terrific. Thank you for participating on that.
Thanks.
Okay. Will.
I'm going to talk about these masks real quick.
Okay.
Obviously, there's been cities in the state that have put a mask mandate in place, and with Cedar Rapids doing it yesterday. I've always been under the impression that the governor has said that the cities don't have the authority to do this. So that's my position, has been that since she said that. But I wanted to ask the city attorney quick what he thinks the law says as far as if we do have authority to do that or not.
Well, first of all, I will try to keep my comments as apolitical as possible. That will be a challenge, but I'll try and focus just on the legal issues. You are correct that it is my understanding that the governor has said that the municipalities do not have the authority to do that. Whether or not that is a correct statement of the law is another issue. The Iowa Attorney General has issued an opinion supporting the governor's proposition to that effect. Kara and I, as well as a vast majority of the municipal attorneys throughout the state, disagree with the Attorney General's opinion in that it infringes upon home rule. Home rule appears in the Iowa Constitution. It's at Section 3, Article 3, I believe Section 38A. It's headed out on my desk here for a little refresher. The governor issuing by essentially by executive fiat proclamation that the municipalities do not have the authority to make that determination within their own municipal boundaries, we believe is not a correct statement of the law. And it appears that Cedar Rapids has directly challenged her authority on that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't Des Moines done that as well? So the two largest municipalities in the state of Iowa have taken on the governor head-to-head on that. I don't know whether there will be any litigation that comes from it or not, but it is the unanimous decision of the city attorneys for the city of Marion that it is up to the city to decide whether or not to make a mandatory mask proclamation, or make a mandate within the city to do that. And your legal team would support you on that if whatever you decide.
So I was gonna, I had a comment for the end, but now would be the appropriate time probably to bring that up. Obviously, the mask mandate is a very hot topic right now. The Lynn County and all of the mayors in the area cities, large and small, sent a joint letter to the governor asking for, she's not going to make a mask mandate, asking for the approval and sign off that we can go ahead and have that local decision. So we are talking about certainly what can be done, what should be done. So what I would like to do as part of this time is ask the members of the city council, the proposal on the table right now. Obviously, we know the city of Cedar Rapids issued a mask mandate yesterday. And so to follow up on that, the question I have for you is there's a proposal being floated to have the city councils and supervisors for Lynn County, Marion, Hiawatha, and Robbins have a joint meeting next week, perhaps on Wednesday, to discuss a joint action plan regarding the mask mandate. So Cedar Rapids has already done it. I think it's appropriate that everybody else decide what they want to do. So that's, we obviously are not going to ask your opinion, are you for or against it? But so my question to you is, are you in favor of having the Marion City Council participate in that joint meeting with Lynn County, Hiawatha, and Robbins next week?
I think it's a great idea. I don't know if I'll be able to attend depending on when it is, but
Right, we don't know
I
the
do
time.
think that the more we talk to our neighbors, the better, more information.
Okay.
And yeah.
Collaboration is key in this. Yep.
Okay,
I agree with that.
all right. So we will go ahead and move ahead on that process. Something will be sent out. I think we're talking about when, are we talking definitely about Wednesday, Lon?
We'll just have to see when people are available. It's like a lot of the other ones we do. We'll pick the best time
Okay.
and we can get the best turnout. I think, especially if we're going to have those other folks involved, obviously being able to do it electronically would facilitate the meeting,
Right.
make it easier for people to attend.
So look forward to something coming out very shortly in the next couple of days to start looking at a time or times that you are available. So that will be the purpose of it, is really to discuss a joint action plan regarding the mask mandate. And obviously the opinions of our city attorneys obviously are going to have a lot of importance as we discuss that. Renee?
Yeah, I just want to go on record and say that I'm very grateful that the Marion City Council is open to discussion and talking to other people. The way I heard it, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the mayor of Cedar Rapids just did it, not in concert with the rest of the council. I don't know if that's true or not. If it is true, that's troublesome to me. So I'm glad that we as a governing body are working together. And I don't know how everybody feels about it, but I just think that these discussions should be done in public so that people can hear, people have the opportunity to email or call us and let us know where they stand. I like that we're kind of putting it out there and hopefully people let us know. I know we got an email today about that. So I'm glad for the process we're following.
Well, I will go on, be glad to go on record to say that since all of us, since Lynn County and all of the area communities sent a joint letter, it would have made a lot of sense that everybody have a joint action plan collectively and not some city going off on their own and initiating it without the input and discussion with the others. Okay, so I was going to say that for the end. Will kind of threw the topic out there. So any other comments, Will?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Ryan, for that explanation. I appreciate that. Yes.
Thanks, Councilmember Brandt. If the city is intending to participate in this in the next week or just in the foreseeable future, one thing that I would caution the council on, and this is, Karen and I have already taken a look at this and staffed the Cedar Rapids ordinance. One of the concerns that we have, not that we think that the mandate is a bad idea at all, but the question of just enforceability. Who's going to be responsible for policing that, whether we're saying that figuratively or literally? So if we're talking about fines, citations, that sort of thing, I would strongly encourage maybe a discussion with the chief of police as well as, and get his input on just what that would look like if we are intending to do something like that, because it's going to, let's just say that Kara and I are concerned about some of the wording of the Des Moines and Cedar Rapids mandates. And so if the city of Marion were to adopt a mask mandate, we would propose some slightly different language to that. So I think it would be very, very beneficial to have the input from the chief of police.
I absolutely agree with that. I'm sure part of the discussion next week, and based on a lot of people's comments that I've talked to, and that is talking about just the enforceability aspect of it, and also how far do you want to enforce it. Our police department has lots of other duties and responsibilities other than, asking people to put on their mask and writing a lot of small citations. So, but that, again, that's part of the discussion with that group next week when we all meet together. So those are aspects all of us on the city council need to think about on how far do you want to push it. And the way we do it in Marion, in that aspect, I think can be done a little bit differently than maybe some of the other cities or the county does it, and or Cedar Rapids. So keep that in mind, but that's a very important part.
So to finish, I just want to thank, also I wanted to thank, totally different topic, thank the staff again and the city employees for everything they've been doing for the storm relief. That was a lot that you've been doing, and I'm sure everyone's quite tired. So, and then real quick, even though he's not here, I wanted to wish the mayor happy birthday. I think you turned 35 today.
Yes, yeah, very young guy.
Yeah, so happy birthday, Nick.
All right, Colette.
I'll just echo the happy birthday, nothing else.
All right, Grant.
Well, I just want to echo Will's comments about the work that city staff and employees have been doing. In simple terms, amazing work. The responsiveness and the courtesy that people have commented to me about being shown to the residents under tough situation and grueling work evolutions. Just pass that along. I think it's just amazing. So thank you.
One other thing to keep in mind in the next couple of weeks is next Tuesday, the kids go back to the city of Marion, and the week after that, Linmar starts back up. So, those obviously have had a number of challenges, a lot of discussion by parents and family members on how to deal with all of the different challenges that people are facing, the kids, the parents, the teachers, just a tremendous amount of challenge going on there. But keep that in mind that there's going to be a lot more foot traffic with all of the kids moving around over the next couple of weeks and starting school. Okay, and with that, our meeting is adjourned.